Yes. Let's start. All right. I was waiting for your show that ended, but yeah. It's okay. He's missing out. Cool. All right. Good night, everyone. So I know the semester is a little bit crazy. It's kind of a peak time for most of us with projects, deadlines, all that sort of crazy stuff. Maybe finals coming up soon. And so more often than not, this is the time where this guy tends to creep in, right? Or it happens just today some stress is there, tomorrow something else, right? And it's often something we don't think about solving. Hi, welcome. Class is in session. Yes. So dealing with the mind is probably the biggest talking point in today's world, especially when it comes to like well-being and wellness, right? And everyone is trying to, figure out how do we control the mind. And the mind actually deals with how we experience a situation, right? It's kind of like our direct cause for happiness or distress. The same situation you put two people in, one person can experience happiness, the other one distress, all just because of how our mind is, tailored and how we perceive certain situations. But the thing is, most people are putting a lot of effort to perfect their external world, right? Study, get good grades, get a job, marry into a beautiful family, have kids, all that sort of stuff, right? Perfect our external life, but glamorous on the outside. But how many of us are really taking the time to, look within and try to perfect that side of our life as well? So today we'll be looking a little bit into that. And just to give some context, I want to share a story. So there was once this lady, and she went to see the doctor. So she was like, "Doctor, I have a serious problem. Like, I'm feeling very sick." So naturally, he asked, "What's going on?" She said, "I went swimming the other day, and I swallowed some frogs. And now the frogs are alive. They're in my stomach. I can feel them moving. Like, what's going on? Help me." So doctor being, medical professional, he was like, "That's not possible. You cannot have frogs in your stomach." She persisted. She was like, "No, no, they're alive. I can feel them. Please do something about it." He tried pacifying her. He was like, "You cannot have frogs in your stomach," but she persisted. She was like, "They're alive. I can feel it." So he thought, okay, you know what? Let's try something a little bit different. So he put her under anesthetic and he was like, "I'm going to operate on you." So while she's sleeping, the doctor goes to nearby pond. He gets some frogs, right? He brings it back to her, and when she gets up, he was like, "Look, I operated on you, and you were right. Lo and behold, here are the frogs. There were actual frogs in your stomach, and I got them out." She was like, "See, I told you, I could feel them. I knew I had frogs in my stomach." I was like, "Yeah, what to do? You were right." She said, "I feel so much better now." So she went on. A week later, she comes back. She was like, "Doctor, guess what? I have more frogs in my stomach." Like, what? I thought I solved the problem. How can she have more frogs? I got rid of them. I operated on you. I showed you the frogs. She was like, "No, but they laid eggs. And now the eggs have hatched. And now there are baby frogs in my stomach. I can feel it." So that's when it hit him. If you try to solve problems externally, they're not going to go away. You have to get to the root of these problems, which is that internal cause or the mind. So just wanted to put that into perspective. Hopefully it helped. And just to kind of give a little bit more context, we'll introduce a verse from the Bhagavad Purana or the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the 11th canto. And can I have a volunteer who would like to read the translation? You don't have to try, but you can if you'd like to Sanskrit. But would anyone like to read the translation? Vignesh, yes.
The Brahmana said, "These people are not the cause of my happiness and distress, neither are the demigods, my own body, the planets, my past work or time. Rather, it is in the mind alone that causes happiness and distress and perpetuates the rotation of material life."
Cool. So I don't have much backstory on this, but I know there was a sage and he was reflecting on, why do I suffer, right? What's the cause of my suffering, as we could have guessed. And so I used to think other people were the cause of my suffering, right? I was wrong. I used to think maybe the demigods were the cause of my suffering. Maybe they're trying to plot against me. They want to get back at me for something. I was wrong. He thought maybe it's my own body, right? As I age, maybe that could have been the cause of my suffering. I was also wrong. Or maybe the alignments of the planets, right? Sometimes you hear this in astrology, the planets is just not the right time. The planets are not in alignment, yada, yada, yada. No, I was wrong. He thought, okay, maybe it's my past work, my karma. Oh, something bad happened to you, I'm suffering. Oh, it's your past karma, right? Let your karma play out. I was wrong. He thought maybe it's time. Kala, it's time. Just as time goes, naturally we tend to suffer. I was wrong. So then he came to the conclusion that it is the mind that is directly, the catalyst for happiness and distress, and just the way we interpret situations. So another example, let's go to the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna and Arjuna are talking. Sorry. Can we have someone else read this from chapter 6, text 34? I'm sure we've seen this so many times, but let's read it again. Maybe. Yeah, please, Brandon.
The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind.
Cool. So I've just bombarded you with this entire negative energy of why the mind is like this entire, this terrible thing, right? How many of us can relate to this to some extent? Right? Is there a solution for this? Can we do something about this? Good luck, guys. I'm going to stop here. So let's think about this a little bit more. Let's maybe try and look at a solution. Let's dive a little bit deeper into something a bit more practical, right? Overthinking, as is today's theme. So let's have a small exercise. Sorry. What causes overthinking? So I've set it up on the board right here, and maybe we can shout out some ideas or some things that cause overthinking, maybe certain feelings, certain emotions, certain experiences. Just you don't have to be specific. Just anything that comes to mind. Rishabh.
Expectations.
Expectations. I like that. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
Low confidence.
Yes. Absolutely.
These days, browsing LinkedIn.
Wait, something. You said something? Failure. Someone will say something. Browsing.
These days, one of the core reason is browsing LinkedIn.
Let's do it. Yeah, I agree.
Browsing
LinkedIn.
what?
LinkedIn.
I agree. 100%.
Anxiety.
Anxiety.
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty. All right, I think let's stop here. It's getting a bit depressing.
But no, I mean,
You're right.
finding control makes it easier to spiral, right?
Can you say that again? Can you elaborate on that?
I mean, the feeling of not having control over a lot of things is basically.
If I had a gold star, I would give it to you. These are all amazing points, and I love these. So just a few that I had written down: fear, failure, right? Those go hand in hand. Feelings of insecurity. I think we had low confidence, right? Lack of confidence. But the biggest one, where do all of these root from? The loss of control. Naturally, as human beings, we have that tendency of wanting to control situations, wanting to control things around us. Right? If something doesn't go according to the way I planned it in my head, I go mad. I start overthinking. If I feel like I deserve to be treated a certain way and someone does me wrong, I feel mistreated, right? I start overthinking. And what happens is you start going in this continuous loop of playing back situations in your mind. And, materially, like externally, things don't work out. So we just retreat into our mind, play situations, and that causes some of these things like anxiety, right? Causes anxiety, stress, procrastination or stagnation. We just don't feel like doing anything. Days go by, we're not making progress in our life. Weeks, months go by. I'm sure we all can relate. And so it's good. Everyone's on the same page. Now let's dive a little bit deeper. So actually, what I want to bring to your attention is that oftentimes we are told we're finite or we're tiny. Sometimes people may say you're insignificant, but actually we're not insignificant. Although we are finite or tiny, we are still creations of divinity or Krishna. We still belong to a part of our whole, right? So we're tiny in terms of our quantity, but we're definitely not insignificant. And so it's just a nice way to remind ourselves about this. And the whole point is that we're not really the ones in control. That's what I want to get to today. So let's talk a little bit about this surrender. It's oftentimes a big word, and I know our other speakers have spoken about this more often than not. But I want to make this a little bit more of an open discussion today and just kind of get some thoughts around this word. But what I want to say from my end is that surrender is a practice. It's not a concept. It's not like an end goal. It's not an action. It's not like I surrender kind of thing, right? It's more shifting our mindset. Again, go back to our mind. Shifting our mindset. Hey, come on in. You guys are late, by the way. Wow. I forgive you. So it's really about shifting our mindset and acknowledging that I'm finite, but I belong to a bigger plan, right? Krishna is there. I'm a part of him. I belong to him, and giving us that grace to trust that process. That's, in my opinion, what surrender means, at least for me, right? Knowing that, sure, I may be small. Things are not going to go according to plan, right? Things are not going to go the way I picture it in my mind. I'm not the one in control. But at the same time, I'm part of a bigger plan. There's something more going on here. So I'm trusting that process, that things will go the way it's supposed to, according to, Krishna's arrangement. And just having that mindset of Krishna, I am yours, right? That alignment, to me, those are certain concepts that come up when I think of the word surrender. So maybe we can pause here for a couple seconds and just, anyone would like to share what surrender personally means to you. And if it means something a bit big and scary, that's perfectly okay. If it's something you haven't wrapped your head around, that's also okay. But we'd just like to hear your thoughts. Or maybe certain words that come to mind, certain feelings.
I think if anyone wants a minute to think.
Yeah.
It's just coincidental that my roommate and I were talking about this today. Very coincidental. And it was about layoffs and things that were happening out here.
Yeah.
And she had a better grip on this than I did. She said, Pranati, the way I see it, is like the only thing you can control is your actions, not your outcomes.
Right.
And anything else. So once you make peace with it, it'll feel better that what you're doing is something, a part of a journey or a stepping stone kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, I can't I can't fully, relate to that because we've been doing this for a long time now.
Not there yet.
Yeah.
This is beautiful, but the fact that you've had this conversation, at least it makes it a little bit lighter. Maybe you felt a small weight off your chest the first time you heard that, but then maybe that weight came back on, right? So it's just a matter of reflecting on what you just heard and kind of thinking, okay, how does this make sense in my situation, right? What does that mean? That I'm not the one in control, or I got to do my best, kind of stuff like that. And that's where this process comes. Anyone else? Anything you'd like to add?
Oh, I'm sure you guys get it from them.
All right, Rishabh, I'm picking on you.
Freedom.
I like that. What do you mean freedom? I can just do whatever I want and there are no consequences? That's freedom.
That's one way to look at it, but it's more like you don't have to be worried knowing that you're taken care of.
Like
Only
that.
then you can surrender, and it's like a feedback loop.
I'm just going to add to what you said, like relief. Trusting that the outcome is going to work out in a way that you just don't understand yet, but it's going to work out. And it's going to be for the best because you're surrendering to God's will and God's plan, knowing that it's always a better plan than your own.
How many of us have been in situations where things didn't go according to plan, but maybe 6 months later you realize it was for the better, right? If things had gone according to what I'd imagined in my head, it would not have been where I am today. Or that situation made me, be able to handle certain situations better. I think we even spoke about this a couple of weeks back, right? Yeah, thank you guys for sharing that. Anyone else, just before you continue? Cool. Does anyone feel certain sort of negative emotions when they hear this story, by any chance? Fair. Yeah, it's natural. Yeah, look, do you want to share a little bit what comes to mind?
Yeah, one is not surrendering to the divine power, and if he is failing, it's going to be frustrating and full of anxious thought of the worry. So while if one is going to surrender, it just making him worry free, anxiety free, and then he can act fearlessly. Yeah, and
Yes.
I would also like to add in one of the sloka Krishna says to Arjun, just surrender onto me and act on your dharma.
Absolutely. You're right. And I love that point. What he was trying to get at is that once we're able to put all of this into practice and really get that weight off our shoulders, we realize a lot of these things tend to go away, right? At least some of these things, yeah, I may not necessarily have uncertainty because I'm trusting in that process, right? Yes, please go for it.
I like your emphasis on that it's a constant, it's not in a one-time event, it's a constant practice, because the part that I feel intimidated by that word of surrender is that it goes against my entire way of thinking up to this point, and just living in a world where expectations are this, reality is something else. So there's naturally a distrust of things outside of my control. And so I'm being asked to trust something that I have only the tiniest understanding of.
Right.
But it's hard.
It is.
Yeah, I just have a little different perspective. I feel like I have a hard time surrendering because I feel like I'm not qualified. The first for me is, okay, is this a process worth committing to, right? Surrender is almost like a commitment, right? And so when I can't find myself to commit, it's like, maybe I'm not qualified. Not maybe questioning the process or anything.
Of course.
It's to myself, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not qualified to surrender.
There are all these other things in your life that you feel disqualify you from reaching that goal, right? Maybe I have certain attachments or I have a certain way of thinking and I know I won't be able to change that. And that's like completely against this guy right here.
Or I just haven't bought in. My heart's not into it.
Heart's not in it.
So I can go through the motions of surrender and be like everybody else, but deep down inside, I feel like there's something missing. So that's why I can't surrender.
I love that. So let's segue on to the next slide. Oh, sorry. Okay. Right before we continue, let's. Sarthak, do you want to read this?
Work hard externally to meet goals, but realize that I am finite and I can't control everything when it comes to results.
Cool. We already spoke on this. Thanks. Right. So now, how do we practically surrender? Right. What does that process look like, or how can we start today to hopefully slowly maybe help us realize that this is something I might want to look into a little bit more. Maybe I'm not bought in right now, but I'm not going to just forget it. It might be there and it's something I can think about, right? While I'm trying to glamorize my external life, right? Push for my external goals in life. I can still think about something that's going on internally and perhaps even correlate them. So there are a few points I have. Okay. So the first one is take a prayer break. And essentially just having a moment where we're able to connect with divinity. It can maybe be in the early morning, 5 to 10 minutes, or it can be at night before we sleep, maybe a reflection of our day. But just being completely open and honest. And oftentimes we're so caught up in, going in the motions, one goal after the other, this assignment after the other. We get so caught up, right? These 16 weeks go by so fast. We forget to give ourselves time for this break, right? It's something we want to do maybe, or we haven't thought about, but oftentimes we neglect it. And it's more so just having an open conversation if we're speaking to like Krishna, I'm struggling with this situation in my life, but I'm offering this to you, right? Please help me see what I should do right now. There's even that call for guidance. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but please help me in this situation. That's an honest prayer. Second point, move to meaningful action. Oftentimes we're in this mental loop of playing situations in our minds, right? And we just don't do anything about it and it consumes us. We're just inside holding, life goes on, we're not making any progress. Oftentimes, at least what helps me is just going on a walk, doing something practical. It may not have to be related to the current situation that we're thinking about, just do something, right? Maybe go on a walk, cook some food, and anything, talk to a friend, whatever it may be. Just really do something meaningful to break that loop. And at some point, you might also want to consider if there's a situation that you're playing in your mind, maybe there's something you wanted to tell someone, right? You felt wronged or things didn't go according to your plan, and you're continuously playing situations. What helps is offering a prayer to Krishna, and then afterwards doing something and acting on that situation. So actually confronting that situation could also be a healthy, depending on the extent of which we have control over it. But oftentimes that can help. Does anyone want to comment on anything I have here before we move on? Any thoughts? Oh wow, two hands. Yes, Rishabh.
I would add to the first point
Yeah.
to make it like even more practical is like start with the right mindset. Maybe prayer may not be in everyone's spiritual practice, but starting as any task like boring task, let's say doing lead code problems, starting it with the right mindset and the objective, whatever you have that be less transient and less temporary. The more permanent it is, the stronger your willpower to do it.
You're right. Absolutely. It all comes down to finding that power of that purpose, right? And so technically prayer doesn't solve our problems, but it can maybe reduce the weight of what we're carrying on us, right? Maybe help us to let go. And essentially gives us a sense of purpose or a sense of connection that sometimes we're lacking in times of these situations. So it's really a powerful tool, and we'll actually do a bit of writing today. We'll get to that in a minute. Now, what to do when surrender feels impossible? I'm going to be a little bit redundant here, but I just want to emphasize again on really investing energy into that prayer. And even just another one that I wrote out, I'm too scared to even offer a prayer to you. Even that in itself can be some form of a prayer, right? I'm too scared. I don't know what to say to you, but I'm still offering this. Please help me sort out the situation. And just really start developing trust. Feel, you guys mentioned that as well, just kind of trusting that process. And here's a beautiful prayer. Krishna, I know you love me and I love you, right? That's also just a nice reminder. It really does work. And it reminds us to let go of the control tendency that we have and just trust in that bigger process. And as I said, even if the problem doesn't get solved, oftentimes we tend to feel that sense of belonging, that sense of love, and that can actually help us be fearless. And when we have that sense of fearlessness, it can help us navigate situations and escape from a lot of these things. Okay. So I think, last point. Asha, do you want to just read this before we move on?
You don't have to have everything figured out. Just take the next step and trust the journey.
I know this is easier said than done, right? I found it very hard to believe this. I still find it difficult to believe this, to be honest, but as a student, I graduated last year, spent 1 year looking for a job, and everyone used to tell me this, right? Just take the next step, trust the process, things will be okay. It used to eat my head, by the way, because I'm like, why are you telling me this? It's not something I want to hear. I don't know, I would just get frustrated, but there have been times where I've gone through these motions of, overthinking, and there's this fear, failure, low confidence, procrastination. Weeks go by and I'm not making any progress in my life, right? But then just having these reminders, right? Talking to friends, to mentors, spiritual teachers, those who you look up to for advice, parents, right? And they're able to connect you and you hear, when they're saying it's okay to not have it figured out. It's okay if you don't have a job yet. It's okay if this didn't go your way. Just kind of take it one day at a time, see what tomorrow brings, right? Slowly, you start putting that into perspective and combining a genuine, heartfelt prayer and shifting your perspective. It makes the day-to-day tasks a little bit more purposeful, right? Externally, I may not be making much progress. I still don't have a job, but right in that time, but still you feel that sense of purpose. I can keep going. I'm just going to take it one day at a time. Yesterday was a journey. I learned something. Today is another journey. So with that being said, let's embark on another journey together. So I want us to think unique to ourselves. How can I practice sincerity in terms of surrender? Or in other words, I want us to write a prayer, right? Have a conversation with divinity. And that is why each and every one, if you have a paper and a pen, for those of you who don't, please raise your hand, I'll get you one. Oh, shoot, sorry. Okay. Maybe you can use your phone. Sorry. But yeah, essentially just having a conversation. So there are two exercises you can do, either or. The first one is a form of journaling, just writing to yourself and figuring out how can I practice sincerity in terms of surrender? How can I start this process today? What is something that I can do that's unique to me? That's one exercise. Or the other one is, if I resonate with this form of prayer, maybe I can have a nice conversation and write something today. I want to give you guys that break, that prayer break, that I'm sure most of us don't often give ourselves because of such a busy life. So I just want us to take 5 to 6 minutes to just reflect on something that might be causing us to overthink and just offer that situation to God, to Krishna, and it'll surprise you where your mind goes. It's okay if you don't have it all figured out, right? It's okay if you don't know what to write. Any questions? Oh, sorry.
has moved over years. Cell phones ring instead of bells. Sacred film has almost disappeared.
Ashes at the river's edge, drifting side by side. Sunrises over new hotels, sages close your
Flows like a river to the sea. They'll always be a river of grace. Flows through me. They'll always be. They'll always be. Govinda Damodara, Madhaveti. Govinda Damodara, Madhaveti. Govinda Damodara, Madhaveti. Govinda Damodara, Madhaveti. Hey Krishna, hey Yadava, hey Sakyati. Govinda Damodara, Madhaveti. Hey Krishna, hey Yadava, hey Sakyati. Govinda Damodara, Madhaveti. Will I always be safe? The heart safely. It is true, you lead me home. All the way, footprints inside.
see the chaos and the barren trees. Maybe I am God. Crowds of people falling to their knees. Is this place divine? Oh, oh,
Give it about one more minute. Alright, we can slowly start bringing yourselves back. And hopefully, those of you who are still writing, please continue to do so. Hopefully this was a nice exercise that allowed you a space to write your thoughts, have a prayer. You know, it may be some form of gratitude, or it may be some form of, cry for help, or maybe you just wanted to have a conversation or just vent, right? So the whole point is that this space, this exercise can kind of give us a chance to do that. And if you did feel something, then it's a reminder to please give yourself that time every once in a while, or whenever you start to feel, these things creeping in. It's a process, it's a journey, but this can be a nice way to help, at least one of the ways. And we'll move on to a second way of which you can also, overcome overthinking through mantra meditation or kirtan. But before that, does anyone have any thoughts they would like to share? Maybe did this work? No, did this not work? It's okay if it didn't. Alok.
Just ask for adding one point regarding the prayer.
Yeah.
Personal experience, it is one of the most powerful practice. And if someone is struggling with something, at least he can just pray, because all qualities, all human being qualities are divine, delivered by the divine. So he will also deliver with the skills. So there might be the case that the problem, number of the volume of the problem is the same, but at the same time you will also get the skills. So the navigation is much more easier.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think this is one of the most powerful practice.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else would like to add on to that? Share some other realizations?
Ultimately, at the end, God is the creation of everything. So we just here in the materialistic world for a brief amount of time. So whatever we do, the hardships we face, so ultimately, the God has the power to do all that. So we just need to write the boat, and whatever blocks comes in, so we just have to practice the prayer and follow the dharma, whatever we face.
Absolutely. I know it's hard, but it's a process.
Everything is a test. Usually, God puts whatever is hard.
Yeah, Ross and I were absorbed in serenity prayer today. We heard a lecture, and then we were just commentating. You guys familiar with the serenity prayer? So it's Christian. I don't even think it's in the Bible per se, but serenity prayer is, God, please give me. Hold on, let me just read it to you. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So this, prayer is hard for me. Sharon. One of the most foreign things to me as it comes to spiritual. I can do everything else. But prayer, it's just a hard process for me. So for me, it's like understanding what my role is. So I'm so programmed to what do I need to do to reach God? And but what can I do? I need to get up and do this. I need to do that. I need to do this. And really, my limited understanding is it's actually the other way around. We don't have to do anything. It's knowing the difference when to do and then just waiting for Krishna to do. So the mercy, we don't make any spiritual progress without the mercy of God. And all we have to do is prepare so we deserve it. So for me, it's being able to know the difference of how much should I push myself without overthinking, and finding that anxiousness that comes with trying to reach a goal, right? Whether it's spiritual or material, it's the same. And so I find myself overthinking when I'm doing too much. So this prayer helps us to kind of maybe understand and say, hey, if I'm finding myself overthinking on a subject matter, maybe I'm trying to change something that I can't change, right? And having the patience to move past that, right? And maybe look for the things that I can change, right? So you mentioned a few things about building a daily practice and things like that. Okay, I can do this. Again, the process, right? And then when I start thinking, well, why am I not like self-realized? Why am I not making progress? Okay, that's probably where the overthinking will come because you don't have the power to change that. Who has the power? Krishna has that power. Because true spiritual progress is going to be made when we receive the mercy of Krishna.
So I had a take that was kind of a little more focused on the fact that when you really think, if you really believe that God is in control and He's the supreme controller, then you have to really think about that because I don't think we really realize what that means. Because really, God is the kindest, most caring, like basically everybody's best friend. And He wants good for you. And so when you think of like, if I control my world, I usually, I'm kind of up and down, right? Sometimes I do things, that are hurtful to myself, knowingly hurtful, because I think, I want to do it, but I'm hurting myself. So when I'm in control, I'm like up and down, and it's not necessarily a good thing. But like if you really think about it, if God is the supreme controller, and He's always good, and He's always caring, and He always wants the best for you, it's actually a really comforting thought to say, okay, God, you're in control.
It really helps in lifting that weight off our shoulders. May not change the situation, but at least makes it a little bit easier to face, right, or overcome.